With 2 games to go in the World Cup qualifiers for 2026, the Super Eagles qualification for the World Cup is now purely based on miracle. The Super Eagles just have 11 points from possible 24 points out of 8 rounds of games and on the verge of not going to the World Cup in 2026, and that will be back-to-back failure to go to the World Cup. And now tongues have been wagging, Nigerians are talking. Where is the problem? How did we get ourselves to where we are today? And for me, the shocking conversation I'm getting to here is some persons blaming Chelle for the woes of the Super Eagles. And that is totally baseless. And that is totally out of it. And it's not factual. In fact, we should be grateful for the job Chelle has done so far to rescue the situation that was almost totally gone. Let's take a look at it factually from day one. Of course, in 2023, the World Cup campaign for the World Cup started, and the Super Eagles' first game was against Lesotho in November 2013. That was a game played at home, and guess what? The Super Eagles played out a disappointing 1-1 draw with Lesotho at home under the Portuguese coach Woes, and that was where the problem started. Lesotho that everybody's beating, even with eyes closed, everybody's beating black, blue and yellow. Benin just beat Lesotho 3-0 in a neutral venue, not even in Cotonou. And the Super Eagles could not beat Lesotho under Pesero. We played at a 1-1 draw in Uyo, and we want to qualify for the World Cup. And look at the quality of players that played that game. You are telling me this squad could not beat Lesotho at home, and we are blaming Chelle. And after that particular game that we played a 1-1 draw at home to Lesotho, we lost 2 points instead of possible 3 points convincingly. We went to play Zimbabwe in an away game. Zimbabwe, we're not playing in Zimbabwe in Harare. We were playing their own games then in Rwanda, of course. That game was played in Rwanda. And guess what? In that game against Zimbabwe, the Super Eagles could not win Zimbabwe in a neutral venue. We played out another 1-1 draw. In fact, we forced the Zimbabwean to a 1-1 draw. They scored before us. And that game ended 1-1. Another 1 point instead of possible 3 points. 2 points from possible 6 easy points under Woes. And we want to qualify for the World Cup. This squad could not beat Zimbabwe in a neutral venue away. And after this, the World Cup qualifiers continue in 2024 after the Super Eagles finished second at the Nations Cup. And of course, the next game for the Super Eagles was at home to South Africa. And then Finidi George was given the mantle to coach the Super Eagles. And guess what? Finidi George at home in Uyo could not beat South Africa. We played that under disappointing 1-1 draw. And we want to go to the World Cup. Looking at the squad that played that game, Sterling Wambali in goal, Ajayi in defense, of course, ever-present Bassi in defense, Osai Samuel Tanemu was in defense, Kelechi Nacho, Iwobi Ndidi, Dele Bashiru, Ademona Lukman, and of course, Paul Onuachu were the players that started that game at home in Uyo against South Africa, and we played that a 1-1 draw. Another 2-point drop with possible 9 easy points. We only garnered 3 points. And we want to go to the World Cup. And after that game, we went to play Benin Republic. That same, of course, a window. Benin is not playing in Cotonou. Benin play all their own games because their field is not good enough in Côte d'Ivoire, in Abidjan. We went to Abidjan And guess what? The Super Eagles could not beat Benin in a neutral venue in Cotonou. We lost 2-1 to Benin Republic under Finidi George. 4 games, 3 points. A nation that wants to qualify for the World Cup. And after this mess up, Eric Chelle was appointed. And the first game of Eric Chelle in charge of the Super Eagles was the World Cup qualifier in Kigali. And that was the first away win the Super Eagles will get in these qualifiers. The Super Eagles won convincingly 2-0 in Kigali. First game of Eric Chelle and first away win in the qualifiers for the Super Eagles. Making it 6 points for Nigeria after 5 games. And the next game was at home against Zimbabwe. The Super Eagles narrowly drew that game, late mess up by Trust Ekong, and we drew that game 1-1. And that was the only disappointment of Eric Chelle. And that was a late equalizer by Zimbabwe, and that game ended 1-1. And after then, the Super Eagles came back home to play Rwanda, and Eric Chelle won again 3 points, 1-0 against Rwanda, before going to South Africa to play out a 1-1 draw. So the 4 games Eric Chelle played for Nigeria in the World Cup qualifiers, he gathered 8 points out of possible 12 points. If other managers like Finidi George, Ose Pesero had gathered similar points, we will not be where we are today. We will not be pressing calculator for the Super Eagles to qualify for the World Cup. So, for me, sacking of Eric Chelle will be totally counterproductive, and that is not what we need at this point. Let's keep on praying for the miracle to happen and hopefully go to the Nations Cup and turn things around for Nigeria.